Hey, what's up, everybody? SITREP 2020 on another Wednesday night, episode 27. Really, July 15th. It's actually my son's birthday today. SITREP 2020 on another Wednesday night, episode 27. Really, July 15th. It was my son's birthday today.
Well, that was cool. We heard it twice.
It's like, what is going on? I'm echoing.
Well, you guys, you can see nothing has changed.
Yeah, still as professional as always. We've got this all figured out.
What's up, people? Hello, April.
Like my cabinet back here.
Oh yeah, it looks like you didn't move it to where it needs to go yet.
No, and it's too heavy to move by myself. It got dropped off, and that's where it's set. But it looks like it's supposed to be there, so it's
good.
It's
kind of weird. It's like your room's getting smaller.
Right? I just close myself in with some cabinetry. Oh man, yeah. So yeah, son's 9th birthday today. No, we were talking early on, and then not much has happened this week so far, man. Not much. Just keeping an eye on everything. But other than that, but welcome everybody. If you were listening to this, you are part of the resistance. See, I got it the first time. This like in the first part of the show.
Yeah, guys. We got this week has been, I want to say the same as every other week, but it's progressively getting worse in the world. And if you're keeping up to date, I don't know what you listen to during the week, but I try to keep my spirits high, man. I try to pump in as much word and solid teaching that I can. And I'm going to give you guys a piece of advice. Turn off your TV. Don't watch anything on TV because, guys, that is killing our society. And it's just easy to just turn it off instead of trying to say, oh, I'm just going to regulate what I watch. I have to say, I watched Blacklist, an episode of Blacklist last night just to wind down. But I usually don't watch anything, man. I watch my SITREP over and over. No.
We sat down and watched V for Vendetta last night on Netflix. So, yeah. I didn't know if anybody remembered that show, but it's set in the year 2020, which is kind of crazy. I think we talked about it a little bit when we were on Robbie's show.
Yeah, we did.
But everything that kicks off happens in the year 2020. And it all happens because of a virus called the St. Mary's virus. So, which isn't in the original story. Whoever created the movie actually changed a bunch of the parts of that. And that was something that I think was created 2005, I think. So, and that's where Anonymous gets their Guy Fawkes masks and everything. It was like a playbook for Antifa right now is what it's like, man. It's crazy.
For sure, dude.
But yeah, they paint that picture, and that the character who was portrayed as the bad guy in it is a religious elitist or whatever, and they the whole thing is the tyranny that conservative religious institution brings to the people, and it's all about bucking the system and destroying that and trying to tear that down and rebuild after. It's crazy because that's not how it was in the original series, the graphic novel. But yeah, there was a political agenda that was attached to that when that came out.
Yeah,
that's all I've had time for.
Our Scientologist Governor DeWine, and his weird little sign language chick that looks like his twin said mandatory masks for the state if you're outside away from your home for whatever you do. And also all the businesses now are major grocery stores are requiring it, which is annoying, dude. So, we're being forced into situations that we don't like, that we're uncomfortable with. Even if it is stupid, we still gotta deal with it, right? We're not to the point where we can just, at least some of us aren't to the point yet where we can just cut out our work, just I'm not going to work. I'm not doing this. I'm not, because, there will be a time though, guys, coming up soon, pretty much. I'm feeling it, that we ain't going to be doing much of this normal stuff to survive. It's kind of scary in a way, just because we're having to change, we've been programmed by all the stuff that we've watched too, to expect certain things to happen in the future, right? And none of us saw this coming, right? But we're having to deal with it. We're having to adapt on the fly. But the one thing that I do want to make sure we really talk about tonight is how you get through stupid stuff like this in your life. It's friends, community. That's what. Even if it's online community, a lot of us, I went to a meeting tonight at my church and discussing some of the things coming down the pike, and it's super weird to say everything's going to be online again. And it's like we're having a meeting in real life talking about how we're going off to online pretty soon. You know what I mean? Because we expect something to happen. And it's just weird, man. It's just weird. But thank God we have community, and we have small groups, and we have fellowship online. And when I'm talking to these people online or at the physical church building, and I'm talking to them about, first of all, we're going to do a freedom group. And I posted on that. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And we were talking about freedom groups tonight over there. And I told them that I had 35 people signed up already for the online. And I was just going to let as many people that want to sign up do it. Because normally we try to limit the group numbers. But I'm like, man, I don't even care, dude. Let's just do it. Let's get 100 and some people in here. It's totally worth it. It'll change your life. Why limit the number? I guess they limit it just to make sure you can have good conversation and nobody's left out. But I don't think we're going to have that problem. And I just think it's funny that they're all having a hard time imagining that there's an online community that wants to do this, because they're just detached. They're so not even thinking about this, and it's really weird. But I love it, man. I'm glad we have this online community. This online community I prayed for fellowship 3 years ago, and I was praying for physical fellowship because I was feeling lonely, which a lot of people are before this whole crazy crap happened, but even more so now. But I was praying for fellowship and friendship, like-minded believers, whatever you want to say, and I got it through the online community. And it's kind of weird because before I had that experience, I would say that you could never find love online. People that online date and stuff. I'm like, these people are crazy, man. But you can get to know people online for sure. And technology helps a lot. And it's really cool that we're all over the world. Really, man. We got people that watch this show from Queensland. We have a woman from Turkey that messaged me that watches this show. Some people, Australia, some people in London. You guys, this is awesome. This is really cool, man.
Yeah, it's also people local. I just found out that one of the guys that watches our show went to school with my wife, lives local. So he's actually going to come to our 242 little cookout thing. So
that's awesome. Yeah, dude. And it's, that's super fun too, man. When you, because I remember, man, when I used to get online to those fellowship finders, I'd get on there pumped up, man, putting all the information in. And then when I see the little pin dot show up, you're like, son of a, I'm the only one in my state, dang. These little pockets, oh man, there was some, no, I'm kidding. I wasn't the only one in my state, but there was 5 or 6 people in Cincinnati on this thing, and then no one. and then 5 or 6 people in Columbus, and I'm like over here, I'm lonesome. Dang, but I met several people from 20 minutes away. I met them at the conference last year at Take on the World, and then I met several other people. I forget through something else, through the Black, that live in Troy, Troy and Tip City, which is only about 10 to 15 minutes away from my house. So we haven't got together yet. We've hung out a couple times, but not really like we should. But dude, it's so cool, man. But we shouldn't just limit ourselves to the people we met online. We could totally be the answer to somebody's prayer that lives right next door to us. I mean, everybody has that ability to go next door and just be like, introduce yourself. Hey, we're having a cookout. You guys want to come over? That's all you got to do. It's super simple. And it's, dude, like there are people out there right now that have quarantined themselves and don't know what the heck's going on. And I know for a fact that 80% of the people that watch this show they're woke up to what's going on. Now, can you share that knowledge with someone you don't know in a loving way and not be a jackass? That is the key, right? You don't have to be right. Sometimes they don't even care for the first 15 times you meet them. They just want somebody to acknowledge them, So, man.
Oh, it reminded me of so I was telling you about, like, we had somebody that listens to the show that went to school with Rachel. Well, my wife. So we went out, and I don't know if you guys know about this, but this was some of the flyers here that Ian created, personalized. That if you guys want to be a part of the Mission 242, you can get a hold of Ian through his email, and he can kind of set these up for you. You can just print them off or whatever. So we're doing a community block party, basically hosting it at our house on the 25th. And so we went around and passed out flyers to our neighbors, and the neighbor that lives diagonally across from us, we've been here for 2 years, didn't realize this, but we went up, knocked on the door, and the girl that answered, like, looked at my wife and was like, hey, they went to school together too. Lived directly across from us, never even knew. So it's kind of cool. So, I mean, we know our immediate neighbors, and then the two people that live behind us had moved out and new people had moved in. So we got to meet them. There's a guy that lives 3 doors down from us that never met, never talked to, anything like that. But he's an elderly old guy, lives by himself, and we invited him, and he seemed like so happy to like be invited to something, like he's probably doesn't have any family that's close, and he lives by himself. So, I mean, it's going to be awesome, to reach out and get to know your neighbors and stuff. And then in the process of that, we're going to talk to them about our show. We're going to talk to them about starting up, Bible studies and things like that again on Fridays. So, I mean, it's going to be awesome. And just to have a cookout and then get to know your neighbors. And then through the light that God has, and the love that God has put in us, is we're going to be a beacon to our neighbors, people that normally you don't realize your neighbor is a couple doors down. You may have never even met them. You never know what their struggles are, what their problem, they may be able to help you with something. I mean, it's going to be awesome. I think it's a great idea. And I think everybody should get involved and get on board. I mean, they can regulate all they want at the stores and stuff like that, and the churches and whatever, but that doesn't mean it has to stop our mission. I mean, right. That's the biggest thing that I think we can't let what the media is doing and this whole idea of this panic and pandemic, and we can't let that stop what our commission is. That's ultimately the goal. I mean, when you look at what you've got, people coming out that were advisors to Trump, like during the faith meeting, coming out and saying, well, since you guys are the leaders of all the churches, the major churches, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information what's coming. We want you guys to stop praising and stop worshiping. That's the God, the creator of all things, and they want us to stop worshiping because of this fake, this over, I won't say fake, but this overdone virus, right?
Right.
I mean, they want us to stop praising. 2 years ago, there was a tuberculosis pandemic that was sweeping across not this country, but most of the other countries. 1.5 million people died of tuberculosis. Did you guys know about that? No, because the media didn't tell you. They didn't force you to wear masks. Tuberculosis has a far greater death mortality rate than COVID-19, and we weren't worried about it 2 years ago. You know, I mean, the the flu season of 2016, 2017 had a higher death toll than coronavirus in its season. We weren't wearing face masks then. You know, I mean, just it blows my mind that we've gotten so wrapped up in this, and the people who are in control and power, for whatever reason. I mean, we can debate on what the reason is that they're doing this. The fact is they're doing it. You know, like I said, Ian's going to have to deal with this with his work. Now there's the flyer there.
Yeah, there's the block party flyer. So if you're in Indy, if you're close to Indianapolis, man, you want to come, bring a lawn chair, bring a side dish, and bring a friend or a neighbor. But these are what they look like, man. You just replace, this is super simple idea. If you get a hold of me and you want something like this, right, I will pretty much put the date or whatever you want inside this, just like this. Well, this is pretty standard, all right? You don't show up to parties without a lawn chair and a side dish usually, right? These are pitch-in type things, right? And then I'll just swap your address out. This is the address where we're doing it. You swap out yours, and also I can personalize. So let me do another screen here with another. I will personalize your logo. So this is the Dayton, Ohio, right? DYT, down with the DYT. You don't even know. Okay. But the DYTOH, if you search DYTOH on Facebook, Mission 242 pops up. Okay, you got a page now. We're going to start a community, and what we're doing is, this is house church, guys. It's just community. That's what you call it. It doesn't have to look like church at all. It doesn't have to look like anything except you being a friend, loving your neighborhood, right? Love thy neighborhood, like it says, right? And I will personalize this. Like I got one for Aaron, and I got one. So I've done the Indy one. I did the one for. We went over to a friend's this weekend in Columbus. So I know a lot of you guys are in Columbus. I see you in the chat. Let's see here where you go. Whitney, I see you, and Nathan Warman. You guys in C-Bus? C-Bus. There's a C-Bus. Mission 242. So you've already got one. If you want the paperwork, I'll send you the paperwork. It's literally like super simple. You make a date, whatever date works for you guys. You can do it weekly. Like I'm incorporating Shabbat, so I'm gonna have, I'm gonna open up my house on Friday night, and we're gonna do Torah portion. They just don't know it. Okay? I don't have to make it weird. Might not even do the Torah portion all the way. But we'll do some scripture reading. I actually, you know what? I might do a bunch of these things. I love fellowship. I think it's awesome. So it doesn't have to be weird. You don't have to like preach at people. 15 minutes and just pray with each other, right? The whole mission is based around Acts 2:42. So let me pull up this flyer really quick because it's probably just easier that way. Aaron, you can talk if you want, man.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Are you guys still planning on coming out?
Yeah, we're going.
Okay.
We're coming.
It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
No, I saw Marla said we should invite Chad. Yeah, he's about, I think it's an hour and 15 minutes away, maybe 45 minutes to an hour away. But yeah. What's that?
How far is Rick Hummer?
I think Hummer's up north, so I think he's like 2 hours away. But yeah, we should definitely hit up Chad, unless my mom already invited him. It looked like she said she already invited him. So,
well, let me show you this real quick. So that way we can just go through this. Because, guys, it's really, I'm trying to take the burden off of you because I know how burdensome it is, right, to have to do this stuff on your own. So let me read through this for you. Mission 242. exists to help more people meet Jesus, find freedom, experience life change, and follow him. This mission is rooted in the command Jesus gave his followers to make disciples of all nations before ascending into heaven after his resurrection. The mission Jesus gave his followers to make disciples who make disciples happens best in the context of ongoing and growing relationships. And the phrase, I don't know if you've ever heard, life is done better in circles rather than rows. All right, that's pretty cool. Can you imagine a world saturated with the love of God? This disciple-making strategy is exactly how God plans to make this happen, and he's invited you and I to be a part of it. It's based off of Acts 2:42. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. That's it, guys. That's how the early church did it. That's how we're going to do it. Right? I don't care if you're told you have to wear a mask and you're not allowed to sing, whatever, man. Sneak over to your neighbor's house, invite your neighbor over to your house, whatever it is. Have a good word for him, man. Even if it's just a Bible verse and a hug. And then eat, hang out, and fellowship, man. Make a friend. And this is the best way. I don't care if you're introverted or extroverted or whatever. Get vulnerable. Share something with them. Personal, right? That's how you break down barriers, man. You can break walls down. People could have all kinds of stuff, in the way. And you could break through that real easily by just getting vulnerable and sharing some real life experience with them, man. Let them talk and do a lot of listening, man. So we are a people who belong to God. Peter offers a grand description of the church when he writes in 1 Peter 2:9, but you are all chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness and into his wonderful light. This is who we are. We are called out, called together, and called to go forth. God has always had a people, even if persecuted and forced underground. God's people have persevered. Even when marginalized and maligned, this is the case more and more in this country. The church stands. Worldwide, Christians are suffering on account of their faith in record numbers. A recent report states that persecution and genocide of Christians across the world is worse today than any time in history. The report asserts that the treatment of Christians has worsened substantially in the past 2 years compared to the 2 years prior, and has grown more violent than any other group of faith. But their numbers are increasing, right? Let's see, let me skip a little bit. Whenever those who make up the church have committed themselves to Christ, regardless of the cost, the church has prospered. Guys, a lot of people are saying that churches out there, like the actual physical building churches, aren't preaching the gospel, right? And that's why you don't go to them. That might be true. It probably is true, unfortunately, more than we'd like to admit. But forsake not yourself, the assembling together. Guys, the scriptures tell us that we need to still be fellowshipping with each other, because that's what it's about, man. Where 2 or 3 are gathered, we bear each other's burdens. I mean, it doesn't happen alone. And you're missing out if you just think your spouse and you are going to hide in a bunker and wait this thing out. So, man, let me go down here a little bit and talk about the apostles' teaching. So you can just do anything, right? Because people are starving. They want good words, man. They want words that or give them hope. And we have that, right? Jesus is the hope, right? So all we have to do is tell them about Jesus. I'll give you a story, man. This is so crazy. My kids, they're little maniacs, dude. And Ripley's 6. Barrett is 4. And they're sitting with the little girl that we babysit. They're sitting there coloring or doing something at the table. And we hear them talking. And they're asking this little girl who, we've been babysitting her for a couple weeks now. I think I brought her up on one of the other shows, but she's the one that never heard of Jesus, never heard of any of this stuff at all. No Bible stories, nothing. And she lived right next door to us for a while, which makes this whole mission even more worth it when you talk to people like that have never heard the gospel, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. You live right there. You never heard it, you know? But they're sitting there playing, they're doing their thing at the table, and she says something like, Jesus lived, my daughter Ripley, she's like, Jesus lives in our hearts. Or maybe Barrett said that. Barrett, my son, he's 4, he says, Jesus lives in our hearts. And the little girl's like, no, he doesn't. He's like, he lives in my heart. She's like, he doesn't live in my heart. And my daughter's like, well, he lives in my heart too. And she's like, it's like, are you ever lonely? And the girl says, yeah. And she said, well, if Jesus lives in your heart, you'll never be lonely again. And the little girl says, Santa Claus lives in my heart. With candy sometimes. And they're like, what? They look at each other, and my 4-year-old says, Santa Claus isn't even real. Jesus is. Dude, I'm like, me and my wife were just sitting there like, man, we make it harder than it is, you know? Like, when's the last time you ever asked somebody, like, you ever feel lonely? Because you don't have to, you know? It's super easy to share the gospel, guys. And, man, I'm proud of my kids for that. But, you know, it was killing me, man.
Well, I think a lot of people struggle is, you know, they don't know where to find, you know, to go out and look for somebody. They don't know how to do discipleship. I mean, I know from my prayers being answered and Ian's, like, we got fellowship that we go in, you know, at least once a month. We've came over to your place and hung out. I mean, it's much needed. And in a world, you know, of everything that's going on, you know, sometimes you just have to submit and let God do it. You know, if you're out in the middle and you feel like you're the only one, I mean, God may have you disciple somebody, you know, somebody that's a friend or a family member. I mean, you just really have to trust that he knows what he's doing and let him kind of do it. And I think that this, if you are in an area, like, you're not like in the middle of, you know, Saskatchewan or something, you know, where the closest town is 2 miles away or two hours away. You know, we got a friend of ours that's up in Canada that she's like, yeah, the closest city is like 2 hours away. I'm like, I can't even imagine. But yeah, I mean, check with the people around you. You never know, you know, start meeting and introducing your neighbors. I mean, I just think it's a great concept to try, because let's be honest. I mean, for what it's looking like, we may not see physical churches in the next, 6 months, maybe longer. I mean, if they let this roll all the way through November, then we have another flu season, and then roll all the way into June or July of next year. I mean, we could be a whole nother year. I mean, some of the people that are talking about this saying America needs to get used to wearing masks, because it could be several years before these masks go away. So, right. I mean, you may not get to see physical churches anymore. It may be all about house churches. I think people have been predicting and feeling this pull for house churches for a long time. You know, that's, you know, I think God has been prepping us, you know, for a lot of us that have been hearing this calling to start doing these house churches. And I think that's going to be a wave that is going to come through in place of this. And even if it's just, you know, I think there are going to be some things popping up where, you know, like for Ian's church, they do live broadcasts. So what if people start gathering at a house to watch the live broadcast, you know, online of the church that they go to, you know, and then prayer and all that kind of stuff, having a lunch. I mean, there will be ecclesias. God has a plan for what's going on right now. I mean, we can't just think that the world has gone crazy. There is no such thing as order out of chaos. That's what the esoteric believes. The chaos that is happening is controlled. And the reason why it's controlled is because there's a plan, and that plan ultimately is God's plan, that all of these things must come to pass before the Messiah returns. So there is no order out of chaos. Like, these things are happening because these are things that need to happen. You know, I don't like it. I mean, no, I don't think any of us do. I think it's controlling, and I think we're, you know, it's in our nature to buck the system when we're given freedoms and rights that are God, inalienable, that are given rights to us. And then all of a sudden they're imposed upon by a governmental force because of something we know clearly we're being lied to about, So, and whatever is going to come the rest of this year, I'm seeing the media is like trying to pick up anything and everything from the bubonic plague to bird flu coming out of China. It's like somebody sneezes in China and they're like, the news over here is like, oh, the next virus is coming. It's so ridiculous. I don't know, but it's going to happen because we have an election here. This is a way for them to control the flow of people who can vote. I mean, if it was up to the Democrats, they want to do mail-in voting so that they can, there's already been all kinds of voter fraud every year, every election cycle. There's somebody's complaining about voter fraud in some city or some province or some state somewhere. So they only imagine when they do mail-in ballots where, people just throw them in the trash can like, oh, this is a predominantly conservative neighborhood. Let's just throw these in the trash. It's coming because that's the plan. There is stuff going on here, and, there are people that have gotten sick. My cousin, I just found out, he moved from New York to California. And as soon as he moved to California, he got COVID-19 and had it for almost a month. And he's a young dude. People are getting it. It's spreading around, but what they are trying to do to stop it is just ridiculous. Like, what the thing say? It was like a quarantine. The quarantine is like when you like restrict the sick, like tyranny is when you restrict everyone. It's just it is what it is. I know Ian's upset because he has to wear a mask. I have to wear a mask almost all the time now. My predominant work area is in the county just north of where I live. And there you can't buy, sell, go to a gas station. Any place is mandated to wear a mask.
I'm not yawning because Aaron's boring. I'm super tired every day.
I know.
But don't take offense to it. What I was going to say is about the masks. Don't freak out. I'm going to say something that might wreck your life. The masks are not the mark of the beast. I'll say it again. The masks are not the mark of the beast. Even though you just said you can't buy, sell, or trade without the mask.
Well, you can't, man.
We're not saying marks of the mask.
No, it's definitely not. But
it feels like the stupid beast is trying to make me wear a mask every freaking time I leave the house, though.
You know what it could be, and I thought about this. I thought about with all the AI and everything that they're trying to do. Like, honestly, you can if you had the ability for an AI to tap into all the security cameras, like they do in like high tech sci-fi shows, where it's like, we need to track this person. I need to get somebody's hacking, and they're like, okay, I can get it from somebody's cell phone over here, from this bank camera over here. If they have something that's actually doing that, this would be the perfect way to tell those who are conformists and those who aren't. Because most people, like, as soon as I get out of because I have what's called a net gator. And it's a real thin material that I pull up because I have to go into customers' homes and stuff. And it's like, people get upset if you even come to their door and knock on their door without a mask on. Like, they're on the other side of pane glass window.
Super weird. So, where's Ducky at when you need him? I ordered a pizza the other day, and it was a transaction. What is it called? Something like transactionless, or you don't even touch them or whatever. I can't remember what they call it, man.
It's like hands-free transaction.
Yeah, you order and you pay for it. They come up. They're supposed to just drop it on your porch and leave. This dude did not drop it on my porch and leave. So he left it in the heated bag, and he just put the heated bag on the porch, and then I'm walking out my door, right? And I see the heated bag. He's like over here, 10 feet, just standing up against my house, just staring at the bag. And I open the door like, there he is. He's like, hello, sir. I'm like, hey, okay. So I'm like messing around with the zipper, trying to get the zipper open. I pull the stuff out. I leave the bag there. He's like, thanks a lot. I go back inside and he scoops the bag up and runs off. This is dumb. And I'm about getting tired. I know you're all gonna try to say something about eating fast food, but when I go through fast food and they hand me my crap in a Tupperware bin, some stupid crap like that, I want to smack it down in the alley. Except I'm poor and I can't afford to waste that $5. But it pisses me off, dude. When you try to hand me my drink in a Tupperware bin, get out of here with that crap, man.
You know what's funny is I went through a drive-through the other day, and in that little tray that they have, the little plastic tray they hand you, were like the little cupcake tins that you make like muffins in, and that's what they stuck the drinks in. So like somebody brought their their muffin maker to put in there. Oh man, dude, I joke about it, and I think it's funny, like for a lot of the situations. But in all honesty, I was at CVS today, and of course, I went to the wrong side of the road because I said before, I live on a road between two counties, and on one side of the road, it's COVID-19's ridiculous over there, and you have to wear a mask. On the other, nobody cares. So literally, I can walk out my front door, cross the street, and if I don't have a mask on, I'm going to die of COVID-19. But so I went to the wrong side of the street to go to a CVS instead of the Walgreens on the other side of the street, and I had to wear a mask. So I walk in there, and there's this little old lady who's sitting in front of me, and this guy's trying to she's like trying to pay for stuff, and he's like trying to upsell her something that she could save $10 or whatever. And she's like, no, I don't even, somebody else already talked to me about this. And she like literally was like, you could tell she was like fidgety and everything. And she's like, I just want to get out of here. I don't want to, she's like, I get really nervous being out here, because this is a little old lady. And she's like, I just get nervous being out here, and I don't want people talking at me because I don't want to get sick. And I'm like, that's the life people are living right now, so engulfed in fear that this little old lady who needs to go get her medication from CVS is so terrified that she can't even have a conversation with the guy on the other side of a plexiglass screen because she's afraid she's going to get COVID-19. Like that's awful.
And they're stealing our change now. Are they stealing your change? You know what? When people are stealing your change, like, dude, man, I get pissed. I save my change, man. So like,
so you're part of the problem. You're the reason why everything is going cashless.
I'm gonna hold out, bro. So we've been poor for a while, and that's our vacation fund, man. Our change. So if it's like $1.20, I'll use $2, take the 80 cents, and throw it in the change jar. That's just how I roll. Because if I don't, I won't save nothing. And now they're like, they're going to take my 80 cents unless I have exact change.
Yeah.
But listen, I just said all my change is in the change jar, so I don't carry change. But
dude, I've got a perfect fix for this, right? The malls are all closing down, right? So in the meantime, remember all those fountains that everybody throws pennies in?
Yeah.
Well, there's nobody at the malls. Somebody needs to go and clean those out and take the coins and put them back into circulation. That's what's happening.
What? That's part of Mission 242's mission statement. We're about to make fountain cleaning our business. We're the living fountain. So we'll go living fountain cleaners, and we'll go into the mall with 242 hats that have fountain cleaner on it, and we'll go and click double thanks to the Lord.
So where's all the change going, dude? Like,
bro, the Federal Reserve, it says on the paperwork, Federal Reserve is short on change. The Federal Reserve doesn't exist anymore. So what are you talking about, sir? But they don't know that. These people, dude, I'm serious. Turn your TVs off. Don't watch. I don't care if you're watching Fox News. Turn that trash off. You don't need none of that. You don't need none of it. I don't care how you find your news, but that ain't the right way. I'll tell you right now. I mean, dude, there's so much garbage, man. And literally, I've listened to. I hardly ever listen to AM radio anymore because I used to a lot. Man, I used to be super political, like 6-7 years ago, probably 10 years ago now. I was Tea Party, dude, I'd be all up in your grill, you know, talking to you about Republicans and Democrats and party lines and all that. It's a joke, bro. And I got over it, man. Thank God. But I clicked on, I think I was listening. I turned on Rush Limbaugh, which ain't too bad, man. I'll listen to Rush. But then Hannity came on. And Hannity, dude, he is just full of crap. He just rambles these long things. He says the same crap every day. They have a guest come on. They talk for 4 seconds. There's 900 commercials. It's not news, man. You can easily find a trusted source on YouTube. You know, or if you have a community and you guys can all pull together and watch stuff. Like I know that's what we do pretty much. We call each other up and we're like, dude, did you hear this? Or check this video out. You know, it's not conspiracies all the time, guys. It's some people just giving you real life sit reps. By the way, people are stealing the term sit rep from us, man. I've heard it in 3 different videos in the last 2 weeks. And Pastor Mike Spalding, if you're watching this, man, your show with Jamie Walden a couple weeks ago, super sweet. And you said sit rep in it. And you weren't talking about us, but you should have been. We forgive you because we'll have you on the show. But still, it was, dude, those guys laid it down for an hour. And, dude, another awesome source of just uplifting encouragement is Dr. Michael Lake. Mike and Mary Lou Lake, they do their, what the heck's it called? Kingdom Intelligence Briefing, the podcast once a week. Check that out. That's super good, man. I like that. I've been watching Sunday Night Church on YouTube with Robbie Dawkins and Mario Murillo. And who else have I been watching? FAI Studios, Frontier Alliance International Maranatha Group. Check them out, guys. Those are some awesome. They have an app with a bunch of stuff on it. It's free. You need to donate money to them. They're doing God's work for real, and they're in the Golan Heights, so they're sweet, man. They got some awesome teachings, dude. Like stuff that'll blow your mind. Dalton Thomas is awesome. I don't know where they've been, but I just found them a couple months ago, and they're rocking my world. So it's really cool to hear from people that are actual missionaries, you know, have left everything and went to a foreign country to serve, probably knowing that they're never coming back. You know, like we're having a hard time going next door and knocking on our neighbor's door and asking them to come over. You remember when Leave It to Beaver was on TV? Well, probably not, but I was homeschooled, so my parents were super strict. So we watched Andy Griffith and Leave It to Beaver on VHS recordings. But they used to bring cookies to their neighbors, you know, and all the neighborhood moms knew each other, and they would tattle on the kids. I know how many times I thought I was getting away with stuff, and I'd smoke cigarettes, and my mom knew when I got home. And it was because Billy's mom called. I seen your son smoking a cigarette over by the school. It's like, man, I'm like 3 miles away from my house. How you gonna tell on me, you know? But it happened. Nowadays, I don't even know what 4 houses down. I don't live in the neighborhood anymore, but I'm just saying most people don't know 4 houses down. They couldn't tell you. I know when I did live in that neighborhood, I couldn't tell you who lived 4 houses down. I couldn't pick them out of a lineup. I just wasn't paying attention, man. And that's how they want it nowadays, dude. Short attention span. You're always looking at your phone. You got so much stuff going on in your life. If they're not in your inner circle, they don't exist. I mean, how many people are you watching? How many people have seen these videos? They're showing these Black Lives Matter videos like crazy where there's people you beat down on the streets. There's one somebody posted, which don't watch these things, guys. You're just fueling it. You're fueling it, man. But it made me so pissed. I watched it for like a minute. This teenage kid and there's like 3 or 4 girls beating the crap out of this mom with her daughter right there. And the one guy runs, and he's probably like 13, 14, does a 2-footed drop kick on a 3-year-old. Man, and then people are just like, oh, and they're watching it and filming it. Where in the heck is anybody with some freaking sense anymore, man? And you watch people filming people and catching it online where guys will watch an old man get jacked in the jaw by a group of teenagers, and they're like, hey, guys, come on now. Man, I would drop my shirt and whoop some ass. I would. I get pissed off, and like watching this stuff just makes you mad, and that's what it's supposed to do, guys. It's supposed to piss you off, and you can't do nothing about it, and then you just ruined your day, right? So we know the world sucks. Let's stop paying attention to that and start paying attention to stuff that's going to actually make a difference, man.
Yeah, it says the love of many will wax cold. So, I mean, we're gonna see a lot more of this as time progresses. You know, biblically, it says that everything that's considered right will be, wrong, and everything that's considered wrong will be right, and the love of many will wax cold. I mean, we're getting there, guys. And the whole mask thing for those of us who choose not to wear masks. We said this with the whole vaccination thing. I don't know how everybody else stands on vaccinations, but I'm a part of some very large anti-vax communities. And I saw this back then where, mom groups and stuff, if a mom came out to her little mom group that she wasn't vaccinating her kids, the other moms would attack her and say, well, your kid's going to get your healthy kid that doesn't have anything is going to get my kid sick because it doesn't have vaccination. I saw the progression of how this was moving into now. It's, and I think we said this probably, what was episode 11? I don't know. It was in March when I said this. I said, this is how this is going to progress, where, this COVID's going to come through and it's going to kill enough people that everybody will have an association with, I knew so-and-so personally who got sick, or so-and-so got, died.
Well, and making dogs wear masks.
Dude, I know, man. It's just getting ridiculous. But I said what this is going to roll over into is, Granny died from COVID-19. And if you're not wearing a mask, now you are the one that killed Granny, because you are carrying COVID-19, even though you may have antibodies or not even, be positive for it. You're the one that's spreading it because you're not wearing a mask. I mean, I've literally seen people accost other people because they'll say, I'm protecting you, you're not protecting me. It's like, I want to, I wish that same argument worked against everybody when we were open and conceal carrying, where the same argument is, I'm protecting you and everybody else here, when I carry, but you're all in a tizzy because I have a loaded weapon on me, like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, the hypocrisy, the nonsensical nature of everything that's going on. I mean, I think for most people with a level-headed, head on their shoulders, like who isn't completely indoctrinated by the media, can see what's going on. But the rest of the people were outnumbered because this is what society has become. You go to work, you work your 9 to 5, you come home, you make dinner, you put on the 7 o'clock news, and you get indoctrinated. That's what most of society is doing. They don't know any different. They have no critical thinking. And this is something that Ian and I have talked about many times before, and something I haven't brought up on the show yet, because there's a lot of things that can come from this. And this understanding is, there was a psychological report. I was done at a college somewhere, and they evaluated like 1,000 people and asked them a series of questions about inner monologue. And 30% of the people who responded did not understand the concept of a voice inside of their head. And literally NPCs, these people function without any voice inside of their head, and I'm like, how is that possible? I mean, that means they not even hearing their own voice inside of their head. So whatever the thought comes in their brain goes straight into their actions. There is no stopping to think, no cognitive, like, weighing of the balances, no good versus evil, no conscience. There's nothing. 30% of people just do. There is no internal monologue. And I think that's ridiculous, but that we're seeing that in society. There are people that they're like, wear a mask. Okay, wear a mask. I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to wear a mask when I'm walking, when I'm jogging, when I'm swimming in the pool. I'm going to wear a mask because the box told me to, and this is a literal thing. And this, brings on, some other things that we could talk about, where if these people are possessed or oppressed by demonic influences, they don't even realize that the voice is telling them to do stuff. They just do it. I mean, this is crazy that there are 30% of the population walking around that doesn't even realize that there is an inner monologue. They just do whatever the voices in their head tell them. And that's just, that's beyond crazy to me. So I don't know.
For sure, bruh.
That's, I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know if we're going to be able to fight this off. I don't know if there's going to be, some kind of thing where people, like in the 60s where the women whipped off their bras and burn them. I mean, are we going to get to the point where we're just going to get so sick of this, ridiculousness, so we're going to start ripping our masks off and burning them in the streets? I mean, I would hope so, but the way that I see people reacting, I don't think it's going to happen. We're outnumbered. There are so many people out there that are just deeply indoctrinated that what are you going to do? We have to, I don't know. This is also part of the reason why the whole community thing is such a big thing, because when this kind of stuff rolls out and they start, slamming lies against people who are not following along, like what was the whole thing with George Floyd? Like, guy was like a 12-year police officer, the guy that killed him, and his neighbors didn't even know he was a police officer. Like, how does your neighbor not even know, your immediate neighbor not know what you do, especially being a cop? You know what I mean? You figure,
bro, nobody knows about anybody anymore, man.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, so imagine a scenario where, the society has gotten to the point where you don't fit in with what the rest of everybody else does. So they can get away with saying slanderous or lies about you. And you have nobody to stand up and say, no, that's my neighbor. That dude's awesome. When I needed something, he came over and helped. When my sewer backed up, he was there. Like, if you don't have any community, you don't meet anybody. I mean, if they can say whatever they want about you, and then there's nobody there to be by your side, like, and that's the whole point. Is even the disciples didn't go out alone. They went out in pairs, I mean, we really need to be out there and trying to reach out and trying to find, or praying consistently. If you don't have the, like Ian said, if you're an introvert, well, then just pray to God that he brings somebody into your life that, you can have a community with, you can have an ecclesia. I mean, that's this whole thing about being lonely is a tool. If we let this loneliness sink in, especially in this, where the society where they're trying to push everybody apart, you can't hug your grandma. You have to wear a mask. You can't see somebody smile when they're happy. That's just blank stares on people's face. Like, if you're feeling lonely in this time, like, this is a tool that the enemy can use, because loneliness leads to depression. Depression leads to suicide. How many people do you think are going to be affected, by this, what this is rolling out? We're not even talking about financial markets and all these people who haven't been paying their rent and all this stuff. When this rolls out, like, after this is over, there are going to be so many businesses and people that haven't been paying, rent and their mortgages and stuff like that they're going to be homeless. I mean, this is going to roll over at some point, and the numbers are going to shoot through the roof of homelessness and jobs closing. Like, they've just been barely sustaining. I mean, that's where all the change is going. Is like, people are counting their pennies, literally. Like, I don't know, but it is super important in this time to, like, try to find some ecclesia, and we have it, available options to try to find somebody, even if it's, telephone calls, Zoom meetings, participating in the Freedom event, like, something where you can get to know other people and you can start building relationships is better than nothing. I mean, that's what we're really trying to shoot for, is trying to give as many tools as we can possibly think of to help you grow in your own community and start building your own ecclesia. I mean, that's what we really want. We really want to see, so that we have support system. We don't go out there and we get lost and caught up in the things that the world. Somebody can, if I started going off on some, tangent about, oh no, Ian, we got to start wearing our masks. We got to start doing this. I would expect Ian to smack the crap out of me and be like, dude, what, straighten up. You know what I mean? Iron sharpens iron, like the holding accountability of a brother or sister. Those are all things that God planned on his communities to have, the part of the bodies that each individual function of the body to have checks and balances and taking care of each other and being there. And that's why this is so important, is because we don't want the enemy to take that loneliness and turn it into a tool for him to attack you. I mean, because that's ultimately what this leads to. We want to see everyone in community. We've got the Facebook page. If that doesn't work, jump in on one of these Zoom calls. You start with the 250 or the 242. I mean, we're trying. I wish we could
talk about. I want to read something to you guys because let me go real quick. I posted a quote on Facebook the other day by Jeremiah Johnson, and it is super powerful, man. So Jeremiah Johnson is like one of the only prophet guys out there speaking it hardcore to the rest of the churches to wake up, right? He says, COVID-19 is the Philistine in this generation, mocking the church just like Goliath did. It is shouting from the abortion clinics and the liquor stores, I am essential and you are not. In the midst of this satanic assault, God is looking for a remnant, just like David, who will hear the taunting of the enemy and run straight to the battle lines and cut its head off. This is the hour to rise and shine, not to run and hide. Wake up, church. Dude, that's so awesome. I read that. I'm like, man, that dude is sweet. Because nobody's saying that, right? Yeah. Well, I remembered I was doing a study on this stuff a while ago. And so in 1 Samuel 17, where it's the story of David and Goliath, when you go down here to Goliath's taunting everybody, and he's doing all that stuff, and David comes on the scene. So let's see here. What shall be? David speaks to the men. This is verse 26. What shall be done to the man that kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he would defy the armies of the living God? Right. And then David, go down here in verse 29, says, and David said, what have I now to do, right? Is there not a cause, he says. Well, if you do the Hebrew, the word cause is dabar, which it means a word, like a prophetic word. Is there not a prophetic word for this situation? That's what David was saying. He's asking them, why are you guys just sitting around? Is there not a word of the Lord against this, right? And, we talked about when we started the show in January that the mandate was to raise a Joshua generation. And that means a generation that stands on the promises, right? That because when Moses had the children of Israel in the desert, he was responsible for feeding them. When Joshua was taking the children of Israel into Canaan, he had to teach them to feed themselves. And that was standing on the promise of God, because all authority in heaven and earth has been given to you, right? To do greater things. It's all within you. And you have to tap in. God can't do everything for you. He's given you every opportunity and every ability through him. And now it's your turn to walk in that. And so what David was saying, is there not a word? Is there nothing in the scripture that you could stand on right now? Yeah, that's sad, because you're looking at this. And when Jeremiah Johnson wrote, this is the Philistine of our generation, man, come on, that's not right 100%, man. This thing is taunting the church. Wear your masks. Don't sing. Don't even meet. And if you do meet, don't try to hug each other. man, it's crazy. And it's, and regardless of that haughty spirit that you have, your prideful spirit where you're like, see, told you the churches are no good, or whatever you're saying in your head right now as you watch this, you're wrong in that. You need to love them. And you feel bad for people because that was you a couple years ago, whatever, I know that was me. Less than 10 years ago, that was me. And if no one would have told me, it'd still be me. And I didn't get some arrogant prick come up to me and tell me the truth in a dick way, right? It was loving and it was sincere. And I think I got it from someone being vulnerable. For example, I'll give you an example. When I listened to Rob Skiba's testimony, and I know a lot of you have probably heard it, Rob Skiba tells the story of how he was in his car, dead broke with a gun to his head, right? And I was there too. So I immediately identify with Rob because I grew up in a church. I had that Christian life, and then I also had a marriage that fell apart, and I went broke over, like, in less than one day. I lost everything. And so when I'm listening to Rob expose his pain, I identified with it, man, and it broke through. And so then I've always had an affinity for, that's the wrong way to say it. I've had a connection to Rob Skiba. And a lot of people have, but I feel like we've done a lot of the same things. We've been in a lot of the same situations, and we also found the same hope. So, it's good to ask people questions like, who is Jesus to you? I saw that in the comments. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think what hurting people out there want to know that you have an answer for their pain more so than, truth. They don't care about truth yet. They just want the pain to go away, And if they're alcoholics, if they're drug addicts, whatever it is, they're only that because they're addicted, because they've used it to cover up or mask the pain. They're trying to bury the pain with that stuff. Anybody that's ever drank alcohol knows you don't like the taste of it. You know what I mean? You drink it for a reason. It's not like people love to just sip on, heavy alcohol, but it's really it's really sad how many people can't identify with the pain that they were, like, we were all in this state before we were rescued, right? Like when Elijah was on here a couple weeks ago, and he said every day before he was saved, he had to fight for peace. And the day he found Jesus, peace fought for him. That's the best way to put it, man. And like, there are people out there that would kill for someone to tell them that there's hope. You ain't got to do anything special. Just give them a dilly bar, Serious, dude. It's like, this is like, we're in the big time right now, man. Like, it's one thing that I was talking to a guy at church tonight about this. We had a little meeting tonight, but everybody now is looking around at these people wearing masks, and everyone's completely aware that there's a virus going around. And then you have half the people that are scared of this virus. The other half the people are saying this virus isn't nothing, man. It's all being blown out of proportion. Now think about this, because from the Garden of Eden, there's been a virus that's been unleashed on the world that's killing everyone. And that's the sin virus. We just couldn't see it. It's always been the invisible enemy, though. So I just think it's funny that now they're talking about this invisible enemy, this virus that's going around and killing people. And we all got to do our part, right? It's almost like the narrative is true. It's just they're talking about it with the wrong virus. COVID-19 is not the virus that we need to be fighting. The sin virus is the virus that's killing everyone. We're watching people die in their sin. and we have the cure, and we're not giving it to them because we're pissed off that they mixed up the information and they're telling everybody it's the wrong virus. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, man. The more I talk about it,
it is kind of funny though too. It's like they've almost shamed you for breathing, and just like in the garden, it's like covering up your goods with a fig leaf. It's like you feel the shame because you breathe or cough or sneeze. I mean, yeah, I've got
big a fig leaf is. I've never really even thought about checking to see how big a fig leaf is, man. Like, what if it's like tiny?
They sewed a bunch of them together. Hey, it's pre-flood. Those fig trees could have been huge. So okay, let's talk about it, right? Because I want to talk about the masks for a minute. So because I want to kind of get everybody's opinion on it, because I'm in a situation where I go into people's homes. I'm not worried about getting sick. I ask all my customers, I'm like, what's your preference on wearing a mask? If they're super adamant about it, like, it's by my job, the statements inside of my work that we're supposed to wear masks when we go into a customer's home. So I got something that was comfortable. I got this super thin, like if I could get cheesecloth, I would have used cheesecloth, but I got this super thin, like cool, whatever. It's cooling when you sweat or whatever mask. And I just use it when I walk into the house to talk to the customer. And as soon as I walk outside, I'm ripping this thing off, but it's reusable and whatever. And I'm, if I go anywhere, I've been restoring a trailer and stuff. So I've had to go to like different stores and stuff. And these stores are, you walk in and they're like, oh, you got to wear a mask. Can't come in here. It's like, I mean, I literally watched a lady chew this young kid out because he didn't have a mask on, like in line. He'd already went and shopped, grabbed everything he needed, was going through self-checkout, and she's chewing him a new one because he didn't have a mask. It's like, I don't know, but it's just as bad here, and I'm sure it's popping up all over the country, and we're going to see this continue. I just want to know, like, where it's going to go from here. I mean, are they talking about fining and stuff like that, and $500 fines for not wearing masks and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's gonna keep progressing. We're gonna see this, I think, until November, and there may be some election changes. I can only hope that the silent majority of people are going to get really tired of this going on nonstop. So I don't know. What are you thinking? I know that you just got hit with the mandatory thing. We've already had it here. So.
Well, you've had mandatory masking everywhere. You're just in that one. You've had it just in the one county, which I've had too, but I don't live in that county.
Yeah.
Now it's statewide. It's our entire state.
Now is that like if you go?
We got Justin McRoberts here. He's in Columbus too. He, DeWine, our guy, says that masks are a symbol. He told us this right 4th of July, right, Justin? He said, "Remember, masks are a symbol of your freedom." What the heck are you talking about? And I was pissed, man. I think we talked about that. Or was it on Robbie's show that dude, there's been, if you guys didn't know, we were on Robbie Davidson's show, Revolution Radio or something like that on Saturday night.
Celebrate Truth on Revolution Radio. Yeah.
For a long time, dude. It was such a long show. Only watched like half of it.
Well, the YouTube side of it, like, because the first hour, because he couldn't get YouTube to go. The first hour was on Revolutionary Radio. Then the second 2 hours, 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. That was a long show.
And Robbie talks fast. We talk about everything.
Yes, he does.
But yeah, I saw so many people wear freaking patriotic masks. It's like this, or people wear like masks that say stuff like "faith over fear." You're doing it wrong. You can't wear a mask and say "faith over fear." You know what I'm saying? Like I saw some funny ones. There were some funny masks, but it doesn't even say it has to be like a mask that does anything. It just says face cover.
No, I know, dude. It's super placebo.
Just with one hand, I would just do this. But I'm trying to think of like I was going to buy some lace panties and just put them on. Because really, what are they going to do? There was a dude wearing a Freddy Krueger mask in Walmart, and no one even looks at him like he's weird.
I know, dude. It's so bizarre, dude. Because you know, previous to this,
before, remember when the terrorism stuff was happening, everybody'd be like, "That guy's wearing a backpack. He's probably a terrorist."
I know.
Like, you can't look at everybody with a backpack on and think they're terrorists, right? Well, now everyone's wearing a weird face cover, and no one thinks it's weird at all.
That's what it reminded me so much of V, dude. At the end of the climax of the V for Vendetta, he sends out like 100,000 like suits with the masks and the hats and everything to have everybody in unison go march on Uncle Ben or whatever that big tower is in the UK. And that's the same thing. It reminds me, it's like everybody has masks now. You know, it's crazy. It's almost like they flipped it on its head, because if you guys saw anything that was happening last year before COVID happened, there was what was called the Yellow Vest riots. Yeah. And that popped up all over the UK. It was because it started out because it was part of a law enforcement that you had to mandatorily have a yellow vest in your car in case of an accident. And so all these people got pissed off at the overreach of the government and started donning the yellow vests and protesting. And now it's like they flipped that all in your head. It's like now they mandatory, want you to have this mask. Is like, is this meaning to like get us to the point? Because America's a sleeping bulldog. I mean, we always have been. With the Boston Tea Party, we've always been. It's in our blood. The revolution, the kicking back of this authoritarian regimes and stuff. We've always had this underlying, I mean, just look at the last 5 or 6 presidential elections. I mean, we talked about the Tea Party. It always seems to pop up. Like if you have a Republican president, then there's some kind of like something like BLM or Antifa pops up. If you have a conservative, then you are a Democrat president, then you have something like Tea Party that pops up. There's always like this antithesis of whatever is going on. So I'm just wondering, like, are they setting this all up so that everybody just gets so sick and tired of it that it causes a revolt? Like, is this because who was it we just had on that was talking about? Oh no, it was Robbie. It was on Robbie's show talking about the Civil War aspect of it, the possibility of he thinks that there's a civil war that could spin out of this. And I very much think it's possible, because it just doesn't. Nothing makes sense looking at it from a conspiratorial eschatology aspect of it. Nothing that they're doing. It's almost completely anti what the establishment has been trying to build up so far. I mean, it used to be you couldn't walk into a gas station if you had a hood on, or a hoodie on or a hat, or you definitely couldn't wear a mask. I mean, there were Halloween every year. You go to the gas station, they're like, if you have a mask on, you have to take it off. Like now it's completely opposite. Now you can't go into the gas station with the mask. It's like, what is going on here? They're talking about China does the whole social credit score thing with, I think 100, what they say, they had like 100 million cameras in the major cities where they track everything you do, from jaywalking to if you spit your gum out on the sidewalk. I mean, everything is super monitored, and they do it based on, your facial recognition. And then you throw a mask on and it's like, that all goes kind of out the window, So I don't know.
I forgot all about that stuff. We talked about, like I said, on Robbie's show, dude. That day was crazy, because we went up to Columbus to do that first thing with their friends and eat dinner and have a cookout with them. And then I forgot about the show. So the show was at 10. Okay, I'd be on the radio at 10. Columbus is 50 minutes from my house, and we're down there. We were roasting our own coffee. My buddy's starting his own coffee roasting thing. So he's showing me how his little coffee roaster works, and we're down there. And my wife's like, "Don't you have to be on the radio soon?" I'm like, and then I'm like, "Oh crap! It's like 10 till 9." And I'm like, "Oh man, we gotta go." So then we're like, "Kids, get in the car now!" Like, we hate to rush like this, but get in the car, find your shoes. It was chaos, man. And then we're in the car, and I'm speeding, dude, because I'm like, I got to get home. I got to, like, get all my stuff. I got to get back over to where I can talk quietly. Man, it was crazy. And then I got on the call, like, it was really close, man. It was really close. But I forgot about half the crap we talked about. But let me read this for you, because I don't remember even. Do you remember when I read the article about 4 steps to subversion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's an article here from 2012 that I read. It's a warning from a former KGB agent, okay, named Yuri Bezmenov. And you can look up Yuri Bezmenov on YouTube, man. And he has a video called The Leftist Future of America. And these things are from like the 80s, man. They're 70s and 80s interviews with this guy. And he's pretty much telling you that espionage is not what you think it is. This guy's an ex-agent for the KGB. He came over here and, defected and stuff, but he served through the 60s. So check this out. Here's what he says. 1985, he was featured in a television interview, which is still available on YouTube, which I was telling you. During the interview, Bezmenov explains that KGB's activities are less about espionage in the classic James Bond sense and more about the ideological subversion, which is used to secretly undermine the American government through psychological warfare. The key to this program is changing the perception of reality using subliminal brainwashing techniques over an extended period of time. As I've written in the past, people act on their perceptions of reality, regardless if it's correct or fallacious. They are not so much concerned with facts as they are perceptions, perspectives, and self-interest. By controlling the perceptions of people, they become more prone to make erroneous conclusions, thereby simplifying the manipulation of the masses. The objective of the KGB program, therefore, is to program people into dismissing true facts as fallacious, even in spite of the obvious. Man, if this is not 100% what's happening, and maybe you're one of those people that when someone's reading, you're like, this makes no sense to me. I will put a link in the description for this article so you can go read it yourself. But here's the 4 steps. Step 1. Now, I'm telling you, when I get done reading these, we've been subverted, guys. And the interesting thing is, no, I'll tell you what the interesting thing is later. One interesting thing at a time, okay, people? Number 1, demoralization. This is the process which can take 15 to 30 years to perform, or a generation. During this stage, the moral fiber and integrity of the country is put into question, thereby creating doubt in the minds of the people. To do so, manipulation of the media and academia is required to influence young people. As the younger generation embraces new values, such as Marxism or Leninism, the older generation slowly loses control simply through attrition. And again, true facts no longer matter during this stage, but rather creating perceptions are the paramount importance. Number 2, destabilization. The purpose of this step is to change the status quo, particularly the country's economy, foreign relations, and defense systems. The intent is to create a massive government permeating society and becoming intrusive into the lives of its citizens. This can take from 2 to 5 years to perform. Again, with the active support of academia pushing youth into this direction. Here, entitlements, benefits are promised to the populace to encourage their support. Basically, they are bribing the people to accept their programs. Dude, we saw that. The whole Obama administration was that right there. Okay? Bezmenov claims after this stage is complete, the naive college professors are no longer needed, and since they will undoubtedly protest government policies when they discover truth, they will be disposed of quickly. He cites examples of this occurring in Nicaragua, Grenada, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. Number 3, crisis. This is a major step lasting up to 6 weeks and involves revolutionary change of power. This is where the cataclysmic event and upset divides the country, thereby creating panic among the citizens. The Trump presidency, right there. We had crisis, right? 2011 upheavals in the Middle East is what he uses, notably Egypt and Libya. To Americans, symptoms would include circumventing the Constitution and altering the checks and balances of the government, and possibly martial law. Normalization is the fourth step. The final step, the final stage, is where the populace finally acquiesces and begins to assimilate into communism. This can take up to 2 decades. But Bezmenov claims the first step, demoralization, was completed well before 1985. In fact, the Russians were surprised how easy it was to perform. One clear indicator of the moral decay of this country is the decline of organized religion, which historically has been a beacon for morality, but now it's in retreat. He also thought step 2 was nearing completion in 1985, but I believe he underestimated the rise of the popularity of the Ronald Reagan presidency, which led to the Cold War. And the war on terror following 9/11. Nonetheless, many would argue America is now realizing Bezmenov's scenario in 2012. See this? Remember, this article is from 2012. He died in 1993, never realizing his prophecy. He hopefully it will never come to fruition, but will remain free as a democratic republic bound to the U.S. Constitution. All right, well, guys, if we're not already in normalization mode where they're trying to make us say this is the new normal, and they're normalizing the fact that you're getting government handouts and that you're just going to have to take breaks from work, and it's for your own good that they shut down the economy and killed 2/3 of self-employed businesses, and just they're just wiping out capitalism, and people are fine with it, man. People sat at home because they had no connection with their neighbors, and half their families probably. I mean, you're literally, you probably had family members and close people next to you that had small businesses that they were forced to take 4 to 5 weeks off work, and now they cannot afford to open up again. Let alone, even if they could, they couldn't compete with the restrictions. They would never be a profitable business having 50%, only being able to have 50% of the, say they're a restaurant, they only have 50% capacity. But, like today, our governor said, Ohioans have always been there to sacrifice their own good for the good of the nation. We didn't have a freaking choice, This whole thing's a joke, dude, but we've been subverted. And now we're looking at a bunch of communists that carry the color red or blue. And that's why we look at these left and right paradigms and we're like, this is the same. They're both the same. It's the same agenda every time. Trump's doing the same thing. He's just doing it a little bit different, right? It's good cop, bad cop. You give us 4 or 8 years of bad cop, and then we get somebody else that does it a different way. And by the time we figure out it's all the same, we're ready to put somebody else in there. We've already forgotten because we only have an 8-minute attention span. Like a bunch of weirdos.
Less than that. That's why I'm really surprised that this has actually lasted as long as it is, because normally it's about a week. The news cycle can run with something for about a week and a half before people start getting burnt out on it, and then they've got to bring something else up. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Actually, I think it's funny because since we first started talking, we've kind of switched. Like, you were like all about voting, and now you're like seeing, that it's the same, the two wings of the same bird. And I'm going the opposite way now, because this will probably be in my 38 now? My 38 years. I've had 18 years to vote, and I have never once voted. This year I probably will, because I want to vote to get the local government fixed and changed, to get the Democratic mayors and governors out of our cities. Because this stuff, I mean, there's probably people in our chat right now that live in a predominantly conservative Midwest area, and they're COVID, they probably don't even know anybody with COVID. You know what I mean? And they're just carry on with life like normal. It's these predominantly Democratic controlled mayors or governors in these cities and states that are doing this, like towing this line, because I'll tell you, because it's a political game, and it's costing people their lives. People are, the suicide rate's gone through the roof. It's costing people their livelihoods, their jobs, their small businesses. I mean, I've even seen some of the major companies are closing down locations all over the place. And all it is this idea that they don't want to jumpstart the economy. They don't want anything to happen because they don't want, for one, they hate Trump. And which, everybody knows I'm not the hugest fan of Trump, but they absolutely hate him. And they would literally destroy this country to make sure that he doesn't get voted in again. And that's what they're doing, because if he gets any kind of turnover on the economy before November, then it's going to look good for him. So what do? They want to shut everything down and make sure that more people are out, more people are on, government assistance, unemployment, because they look at the unemployment numbers, new job claims, all of that, or new jobless claims. They look at all that stuff, and that's what the news, perpetuates. Oh, the numbers are going up. The numbers are this, and that's what they're trying to do. And they're sacrificing people's livelihoods and lives at this point just to do that. And that's a sad thing, that we voted these people into power, or didn't, in my case, for the last 18 years. And this has been something that has been most of the people that are in Congress or in the Senate, they're lifers. They've been in there for a long time, and we haven't voted them out. And they're the ones that are perpetuating this stuff. They're never going to force term limits on themselves because they'd cut their own paycheck. So, we've got to start getting rid of these people that are causing these problems. And like I said, this will probably be the first year that I actually go out and vote to make sure that some of these governors and mayors in my city and state don't get a job again, because this is ridiculous. Literally, like I said, I can walk from my front door across the street to a completely different county, completely different mayor, completely different, governor, and it's a completely different scenario on two sides of my street. You're going to tell me that COVID-19 stops midway through my street? Like that it just knows that not to come to the next county down because, whatever. It's like these stores, like Walmart closing at 8:00 now. Like, does COVID only come out at night? Is it like the boogeyman? Like, what's the deal with that?
Dude, they have the cops only come out during the day now too. Did you know that?
No.
So in New York and some other places, man, there's like no cops at all on the streets. And then during the day they're out. And then around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, they're all starting. There's like none to be found. So while Antifa is asleep with a hangover, the cops are roaming around, parking their cars in strategic places. And then they just leave them there so that when the night comes, these dudes can just beat the crap out of these cars. Like, you ever seen these pictures of like 10 cop cars lined up? They're all on fire with spray paint on them. It's like, have you seen these Antifa people? They can't do that. These cars were parked there. And I saw a video of a cop in New York. Cops clearing the street because one of their vans was on fire. It was set on fire, they said. It was done by vigilantes, but to me in the video it looked like they said it because they were chilling there talking the whole time until right before, and one of them says, yeah, it looks like it's good to go, and then they start clearing the streets, and then you hear the tires blow up and everything. It's kind of like, dude, who knows, man. Don't watch TV. I'm telling you, you'd be better off.
Yeah, and you have to watch that, because there was this one video that came out, and this guy runs up to some officers bashing the window in on their cop car, and he runs up in the middle of them doing it. And he's like, look, they're breaking out the windows. They're doing this to their own cars. They're going to blame us. And then that gets posted, goes viral. Well, then somebody else who had videoed it with their phone actually videoed it like 5 minutes prior, while the rest of the people were beating up on the car. They needed to get the car out, so they were bashing out the windshield because they couldn't see out of it. So they were hitting the windshield to knock the windshield out so they get in the car and leave. So it's really all about perspective, man. And the thing goes viral, and the people who share it, are going to share it with people who, echo chamber their same sentiment.
people shared with me this week because they don't do the research. They just watch stuff and it fits with what they think. And so they just go with it, right? I'm telling you right now, this Q thing, everything that's happening right now, the Wayfair stuff, if you've not heard about the Wayfair pedophile stuff, I'm not saying that it's not true, okay? Because I totally know that they traffic children online. I know for a fact that they traffic kids from Amazon.com. And I don't share that out because there's really nothing I can do about it, and no one's going to stop buying Amazon stuff. I could prove it with someone's testimony, but it could also get them killed. And they're probably watching, and you know who you are. But Wayfair, this thing came out way too easy, dude. I'm not saying they're not, but be careful jumping on bandwagons with this crap, because this is exactly what we said what Q would do, right? These people behind Q, they're completely just giving you conspiracy theories left and right, whether they're true or not, right? And we're so used to getting stuff from Q that's kind of true, or 80% truth, right? Maybe, right? So people are just going for it, man. They're all about it. And now it'd be easy for them to come out and say that Wayfair was a hoax, somebody hacked in, did all this stuff, and you have a meme that you got from some other conspiracy guy who's got a whole page full of cat memes, so he's not real credible. And you don't know anything about it except for they named the cabinets after children who somebody made a picture of that showed the kids at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? You get where I'm going with this? You don't really have any proof at all. You saw pictures. You saw what somebody else made a collage of the pricing in the catalog being like $3,500 for a single cabinet named Christina. And there's also a missing child named Christina or something. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's not going on. I'm just saying you cannot check. And I like Amazing Polly. I see what you're writing down there, Michael Brown.
Is this irony? Is this irony that I have cabinet? I spent
cabinet shut. Open the cabinet there.
I spent $10,000 on this cabinet. There's no kid in here.
No, I'm just saying, you guys. And you know what the thing is? Wayfair might be a trafficking site, but
I definitely believe it is.
But they're not trafficking them like that. Like for example, the thing with Amazon. I knew about this 2 years ago, okay? And I wish there was something I could do about it. I wish that my page wasn't blacklisted and I had millions of followers, because I posted up in a heartbeat. But nothing's going to be done. But the fact that you can traffic a child, or you can purchase things online through the dark web on the front end of Amazon with Amazon gift cards off of regular Amazon products, they take you to the dark web, right? And you post up and you put in the Amazon gift card number, which unlocks these portals, which gets you into these things. And you have to go through a series of checklists and all kinds of stuff. This is a real thing. There's no way for you to be able to do that without Amazon knowing.
I'll tell you what I come to the conclusion about the Wayfair thing, right? With everything that happened with Pizzagate, they had price listings and stuff, what they called, like a Hawaiian pizza or whatever. They had listings for what they could, offer a child for. $10,000 is nothing when you're talking about that these people will ship children by selling art, which doesn't, it'll be on a trailer or whatever, full of art products or whatever that passes right through customs. Or they sell a boat on international waters full of, underage children, which we've studied and seen that happen many a times, where these boats get transferred between, some sultan of Brunei or something, and some
dude
here, right?
Did you just say that for fun?
No.
Okay. I was gonna say. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So. But this kind of stuff. So what I was looking at with these cabinets, I'm like, $10,000 is nothing, right? And you're definitely not gonna have the Amazon guy deliver a child in a box to your house. But what if they send cabinets that have adrenochrome or blood or whatever stored inside of them? Do you guys not remember Al Gore getting picked up in LA? They went through his suitcase and he had vials of blood in his suitcase.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that?
I do.
So and we already know like this whole adrenochrome shortage thing. You can go look at some of the actors and actresses, that look awful now, because there's supposedly some adrenochrome. What if there is, and this is how they're transferring it. You set up an LLC, you make some cabinets, you sell them for $10,000, and you stuff them full of body parts or blood bags or whatever from children. I mean, that's how they could do it. They're not sending a child through express mail, like if somebody would figure that out at one of the Amazon warehouses, something like that. But regardless, it's just like you said, they give you 90% truth and 10% lies. This is exactly how the devil works as well. He'll tell you 90% truth and 10% lies, but it's that 10% lie that gets you caught up.
And I want to say something real quick because Ray, you're right. You wrote something here. The Russian browser Yandex, right? I just read that thing about subversion by the Soviet Union. So when your source is a Russian site, right? I'm just saying, this is not simple. Conspiracy theories were never simple, dude. They are so complex, and it used to be hard. And now all of a sudden, like we've been saying, conspiracy theories left and right, they're just like information everywhere. You could literally type in Yandex and the Wayfair thing, and you'll find a crap ton of articles. That's not normal.
Yeah.
It's a real conspiracy. I'm sorry, but even if it is real, it's still not normal. They want us to get the information that the way that they're giving it to us, and that's why we're getting it. Because, and I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying be careful.
I'm just saying what happened. Remember a couple months ago when they put up those tents in Central Park and supposedly ushered out a bunch of children and all this?
Yeah.
We didn't hear another drop about that.
They didn't do any of that stuff, guys. I'm telling you right now, everything that Q is saying about the restructuring that's happening with Nasara and Jasara, some of that's true, some of it's not. Some of it, like the whole, they're going to bust all the pedos. They're not going to bust none of these pedos.
Well, and you got to think too, right? Just like in the mafia or any organization, right? The super elites at the top are not the same as your everyday pedophile running around in the streets, right? Somewhere in between there, you've got some Hollywood star, some B-list star that needs to get some adrenochrome, right? These people aren't going to use, like, you don't think that the elite couldn't pay somebody, if they've got all the money in the world, couldn't pay somebody to just go snatch your kid up from your front yard? Why would they want to pay somebody $10,000 to have it shipped through Wayfair, right? But there may be lower level tiered people that this is how they don't care about this. But you got to talk. These are the evil people that kill you if you know too much, like Epstein. Everybody knew Epstein didn't kill himself, right? Because he wasn't. This guy had tons of money, had his own island, was involved in blackmailing all kinds of politicians, and they offed him like that. Do you think they don't care about these little pedophiles? They don't give a crap about these little pedophiles. They'll turn them in all day long and point at them and say, those are the bad guys. We got rid of them.
It's super easy now. You literally you don't even have to have evidence to say someone did it. They put, like, look, you remember Anthony Weiner? I'm not supposed to say Weiner on YouTube. Hey, guys. Anthony Weiner, okay? Remember the DNC leak and the WikiLeaks thing and 35,000 emails and all that stuff with Hillary Clinton that started the Pizzagate thing, right? Weiner's laptop. And he had that file that was marked insurance, right? And it was supposedly all this stuff on Hillary Clinton and the cabal and all this crazy. Guess who's out of jail and who's been out of jail for a little bit? Anthony Weiner. He didn't rat on nobody. It's a freaking show. They put him in jail for a little bit just to make people think it, and then they release him without even saying anything. He's out on the streets again, right? And so are some other crazy people that COVID has released into the streets, right? But my point is, there's not going to be any justice, because if Q's right about Nasara and Jasara, which, hey man, it looks like that's coming down the pipe for sure. This economy is going to crash hard and fast after November, and something will be in. And it has to. And Jasara and Nasara, they look like the system of the beast that we know of as the Revelation beast system, right? But if that's true, part of that whole restructuring, they say that they're going to have to
Well, so first of all, everyone that's been elected under the old system will step down. There'll be new elections. So that means if Trump's our president and Nassara goes into effect, he will step down from being our president. And then we will hold free elections because apparently these are rigged, right? Which we all think these elections are rigged anyways, right? But that's what they're telling you, though, that they're going to have free elections. So that means Trump's going to step down, or whoever wins the presidency is going to step down if Nassar goes in. And then he's just assuming that everyone will just elect Trump again. What if Trump doesn't want to be elected? What if he says he doesn't want to be president of the new system and he's done his job and he puts up somebody else, like maybe, I don't know, his son-in-law or something weird? You know what I mean? Who knows at this point? But the other thing is, they say that they're going to, all of the lawyers the bar will be disbanded, and they will all be re-educated on constitutional law. So, if that's a point to where they have to be re-educated on constitutional law, that means that the constitutional law will not be upheld beforehand, and that's why there's a need for re-education. So, if we're looking for justice, we're not going to get it. The whole point. I mean, look at Don, what's his name? Bob Barr, the Attorney General. When Trump got him, everyone thought, even Q was pushing Bob Barr, right? And he's saying, "Oh, Barr, make Barr Attorney General. All this stuff's going to go away. Free Vince Flynn, all that stuff, right?" And Bob Barr was Attorney General under Poppy Bush, and he's the one that covered up Iran-Contra and got Oliver North and the other crooks off the hook. Okay, then he went into the shadows. Then Trump brings him out of right before retirement, and everyone thinks it's Bob Barr's got wants a clean conscience before he leaves, and he knows he did bad stuff, but this is his chance for redemption. And I say BS. He's going to do the same thing he did before, and Trump knows if this is a long game. Everybody talked about Trump playing 4D chess. This is a long game. Trump knew the 4 years that he would get the first time would be a cakewalk compared to the 3 years leading up to that fourth year. It would be chaos, right? Because of all the stuff that's going to happen. And supposedly he knew about the virus and he allowed it to happen because it's covering up the financial reset. And you know what? I think to a degree that's true.
Yeah,
he knew something was about to happen. I don't think he knew to the level that these crazy left-wing crazy people would have taken it, and how the American people would allow it to happen so quickly. I think that's a shocker, but I totally think that they're all in on this. They all know everything they're doing because they're covering up the reset that's happening. Because the people knew that their money was worthless and that there was no gold back anything. It's all just fake. And they would flip out and we would have a civil war. But you know what's interesting is that guy Yuri Bezmenov, he was talking in another speech that I watched, and he was saying that once a country has been subverted and they're to that point where normalization, point 4, where they're doing that, the only two things that can rescue them from that spot is civil war or a savior figure. And man, I don't think there's going to be a civil war, because I think that this World War III is happening right now, and it's asymmetric warfare, and it's a mind war, and we don't even half the people don't realize it's happening, and they're going to lose without knowing they were even fighting, right? And I think
I don't know.
I
think that the people who plan this, well, let's say the entities, the powers that plan this, we've talked about this, where there's this dualistic, white and black tiles, all this stuff, right? And I think they always have 2 plans or 3 plans or 4 or whatever. Because we were looking at everything. What's that?
The 3-headed eagle.
Yeah. Well, that's when you're looking at all these things, like when we were in eschatology up to this point, I was looking at things like transhumanism, right? They were talking about by 2030 we were going to be putting the the essence of a person into a machine, and then you was looking into the bio aspect where they were talking about genetic splicing and things like that. Then it was looking at the religious aspect of it, where there were these groups teaching what is it, like the theosophy, the idea of like, evolving yourself into a deity that was growing in all of the esoteric communities, right? So we had like 3 different pathways. I'm like trying to follow to see where is this going to come from, and then like out of nowhere comes this whole COVID-19 thing, and I'm looking at them like it's almost like they control the narrative, like even back then, of what we were seeing, and like saying we're gonna leave them some breadcrumbs off in this direction, leave them some off in this way, leave them some off in this way. And I think it's still the same way. I think they always leave an option because choice is still always there. Right, choice in humanity is still right. This is the whole thing with the coronavirus thing. Like, if the Bible tells us that we speak blessings and curses, and we've got the news broadcasting on our TV telling us that COVID-19 is coming to your neighborhood, and then if people are speaking that, like saying things like, "Well, I hope I don't get COVID-19," and then they get COVID-19, what if these people are passing curses around? What if this isn't a virus per se, but this is, the virus in the physical aspect, but in the spiritual, we're doing it to ourselves, because we're allowing the media to tell us these things, instituting fear, which by medical standards, if you have a heightened senses of fear, it lowers your immune system. So it's already there. Like all of this stuff in the physical, we can see and track, but how is it affecting us in the spiritual? And so this is all like the Christians need to start taking responsibility and doing things like we were talking about in our community, prayer. All of these things have been like, we've tried to hammer away and not saying, how many times have we hit on this where you don't speak curses into your family, into your life, don't, and this, and I know a lot of people, they're to the point of where they're like, well, they're bucking the system where they don't even want to wear a mask. I'm just at the point where you'll never hear me say, "Oh, I hope I don't get COVID-19," because I stand on the promises of Psalm 91 that those things won't even come to my door, right? And if God decides to take me, then my will is His will. If He decides to take me right now, if He decides to give me COVID-19, so be it, right? Ian will have to find another co-host, but I'm not gonna speak those things into my life, and I'm not going to buck the system as far as what God's plan is. So I'm just really trying to like look at these things and trying to figure out what we should be doing in this time. And I keep hearing prayer. The community aspect is the same thing that I hear over and over again. Whatever they're telling us in the churches, if they say don't worship more. If they say don't sing more, right? If they're trying to attack Christianity in our fundamental nature of praising the creator of all things, don't listen to anything that they have to say. You know what I mean? So we don't need a building to be a community. We don't need a building. We can be an ecclesia right now. And that's why I love about this, that God has done this. We've got, who knows how many people watching right now, because I don't have it pulled up, but we got enough people that I see every week, and I love seeing you guys every single week. And you can reach out to us on Facebook. I know a lot of you guys do. I get sent so much stuff throughout the week that's hard to keep up, but it's people that I've met through here or through Take on the World, all of these things that, I would love to see a revolution that happens, but it's not going to happen if we're not ready to do the spiritual battles. We're not going to be able to handle it in the physical. And that's what the whole SITREP idea is we need to start working in the spiritual, and then the physical will follow, like, I don't know, man. I'm so excited because I know what God is doing for the community of His body, but I see what the world is doing. It's something completely different. So I don't want you guys to be weary. Don't be tired. We talked about the church had fatigue, battle fatigue, right? That's the body. We're talking about the ecclesia, not the building, the structure. We're talking about the people. A lot of these people that I see in this chat, I know you guys are out there praying heartily. And I know that you guys are like praying for your neighbors, praying for your friends, and it gets tiresome because then you see what happens on social media and you're like, is it doing anything? Are we doing anything? But the thing is, like, we are. we are doing stuff, right? It just doesn't, this physical realm is there's a king and a God of this realm that is running things right now. He's given a time to do things, and he knows his time is short, so he hammers stuff out. And the thing is that God has commissioned us to do is to be prepared, look up, stand up. You know, the time is drawing near, right? Don't be deceived. Don't be fearful. These are the things that God has, that Jesus told us that these things are going to be coming before he comes back. And he warns us and says, don't be fearful and don't be deceived. And then he says, look up and stand up, because the redemption, you know, the end draws near. So, and it doesn't matter if it's 20, 30, 50 years, 10 years, tomorrow. Like, we need to be working as if today is our last day. I mean, I don't know how many times we've said this over and over and over again with the Hacksaw Ridge thing, right? Ian, have you ever talked about the very first Take on the World conference that you're at when you showed your video? Have you ever talked about that story?
I have before, not on this show. I'm not on our show, I don't think.
You should tell that story about the, you know, praying for if this just helps one person.
Yeah. So when I first made Quantum Illusion, I was praying about that. It took me like, I don't know. I was making it for probably 8 months, and then the last 2 months, I knew that I was making it for the conference. But I was praying specifically for it at that point, that it would touch just one. I was praying. I was kind of looking back on it. It was a weak prayer, because I was praying, God, let it just help one person, you know, and like it wasn't going to be good. It was just going to be good for one person, you know. And that's kind of humble but weak, and I prayed it a lot. And then when I get to Take on the World, we were going to show the film for everyone on the big screen, but and it was supposed to happen the first night, so it got pushed back because we were really late on everybody. Then it got pushed back to the third night. Then it got pushed back to the last night, and then the last night we had to be out of the main room by midnight, and my film's 2 hours long. So they were like, we can't show it. We're going to show it in a back room. So if anybody wants to stay to watch it, well, there was like 50 people that stayed because it was already midnight, man. And we couldn't get it to work. It wouldn't play in the thing. And it took like 40 minutes to get the stupid thing to work and read the disc. By that time, there's like 20 people in the room. It's now like 1 o'clock, and it's the last night, so everybody's leaving in the morning, you know, and no one's wanting to stay. So anyways, we get the thing rolling. Probably like JJ's not in here today. I don't see him in here, but JJ stayed through the whole thing, so I don't count JJ because he was my buddy. But there was like Michael Solomon stayed too, because Michael Solomon was running the video equipment. But there was literally like one person left in the room besides those two guys. They don't count. But there was one guy in there the whole time, and I had met him earlier in the week. He came with a friend, and he had never heard of none of this stuff. And he sat through the whole thing. It's like 3 a.m. I am falling asleep because I don't know if any of you guys can picture this, but you spend 8 months editing a video. By the time you get done with it, you don't want to watch it. You've watched it 1 million times. So it was kind of like that. But the dude at the end, he got up and he came over to me and he's like, man, that was awesome, dude. He's like, and the way that everything connected at the end. And anyways, long story short, we talked about things and we did a salvation prayer. And it was like, as I'm walking away, I'm thinking it was for one. It seemed that way. I know it would go online and more people would watch it later, but I was a little bit defeated, to be honest with you, because I was pumped up, ready for everybody to watch this thing, you know? And it was my first conference. It was all that, all the hype. And then I'm at the end, walking back to my little dorm room or the fire, or I don't even remember where we were going at that point. But I'm literally like, I just literally made that film for one person. So it was super weird, but it's one of them crazy things where it was like a moment between me and God where I'm like, I should have prayed bigger. I should have prayed for 100 or 200. You know what I mean? But those are the kind of little things that you learn along your relationship that you're like, man, I got to set bigger goals because, I hit the little one with ease, but let's move it up.
See God.
Yeah, you can go to my web. You can't search it on YouTube. None of the stuff that's on my page can be searched on YouTube, unfortunately. You have to go to my page and search through my videos to find it, or be friends with me on Facebook, and you'll get it there too. But Quantum Illusion. It's a long one, but it's a good one.
Yeah. See, God was faithful though. If you lined up with His will was a salvation for people. You lined up with His will, but you asked for one, and He set it up and lined the ducks up, and you got one. And I definitely think you got from that God was saying, maybe it's time to start praying bigger, right?
Sure.
So, and I think that's where we're at, guys. Like, if you don't know God's will, then you need to read more scripture. If you do know God's will, start praying for God's will, right? Not, pray to the end of COVID-19 or the Trump's presidency or whatever it is. Pray for God's will. All right. God's will is the salvation of mankind through the Messiah, through Jesus Christ, right? And that's what we really need to be. We need to be working towards that goal and working towards doing that however we can and just being ready. God will set up all of the other things and start thinking bigger than, I just want to save one person, right? I love that saying because it's just a reminder to me. It's part of the reason why I like this Viking haircut, right? Because I look at myself in the mirror every day and it reminds me I'm in a battle. Like a Viking, a warrior, right? I mean, I guess I could go out in the full regalia and the big battle axe and stuff, but it just reminds me that every day when I look at myself in the mirror, it's not what I'm seeing. This isn't physical. I'm not going to go out with a battle axe and go cut somebody in half, but in the spiritual realm, I can do that. I can fight and attack these entities and things that are running my city. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's a thing circulating around right now about a young girl who was a mother in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is my city, who was downtown in our canal. This is the same canal that my wife and I, when we first started dating, would walk up and down like weekly playing Pokemon Go. Like, I mean, it was a super popular canal, but she's walking, this girl and her boyfriend were walking up the canal, and some fight broke out about all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. And some guns were drawn, and then everything kind of settled down to the end. I guess guns were drawn on both sides. And then I guess they ran up on them later and shot at them and killed the young mother. This was in my city, all about the all lives matter stuff. These things are happening in our cities. And if we're not paying attention to what's going on, if we're not praying for these things, I mean, lives are being lost. These are lives. Every time you turn on the news and they say 20 dead in Chicago, that's 20 more people that most likely nobody's reached out to them about who the Savior is, right? Their lives are lost, and that's kind of the idea. We need that. The reason why I say that mantra all the time, please God, give me enough strength for one more, is because that's what it reminds me. It's like, I need to do these things for one more. Give me the strength, support me, push me, give me your will, Father, give me your eyes, give me your ears. Like, because I need to do one more. I need to do one more after that, and one more, and one more. Like, it's because on the macro, we need to see things on a finite level because God is infinite. He can do things that we can't possibly imagine. Like Ian could have said, God, I want to save 1,000 people, and maybe after that, he said, I want this to go out to more people. Well, it went, it's online. Who knows how many people that is affected? Who knows how many people this is affected? We see the people in chat, but how many people watch this after the fact? Tomorrow, the next day, how many people have come to the Messiah through this? We have no idea.
Yeah, and here's another cool thing. So it's already midnight, so we're going to wrap this up, but we want to touch on some things real quick.
We talked about house churches. We talked about Mission 242, getting together with people, meeting your neighbors, all that stuff. Have a cookout. Don't be weird. That's our motto. Don't be weird. Love thy neighborhood.
I do like that was so cool when I saw that printed off.
Yeah. What was I saying?
Sorry.
Don't be weird. No, you're fine. So I thought of something we could do, okay? Because we have this community online and we have our own thing, right? And we've all gotten to where we are because someone shared some video with us at some point and we watched it, right? I know mine was Identity Crisis by Jim Staley. And then, it was a lot of other stuff after that. But that was the thing that really changed my perspective on a lot of things. And so everybody has a video like that, right? So what about we have conspiracy theater where it could be a different night. It could be part of 242 if you want to do that. But why don't you do the 242 thing first so you can meet your neighbor and invite them over, or maybe just friends. They don't have to live next door to you, but that's what the point is. It'd be like, it's super easy to just go next door, but it can just be some friends, have some friends over, whatever. Maybe you watch a movie, or maybe start a small group and say every other week on Saturday night, you come over and we'll watch a movie. And every time you show them a different movie, right? And you're bringing truth. You guys can discuss it, right? They don't have to be crazy movies like, I'm not talking like some kind of Illuminati, decoding movie. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about like
Flat Smack 'em.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like Quantum Illusion. That's a good one. Or there's other ones out there too.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. Thing, I will give you some because it's what I do. But the other thing is freedom groups. This is one of the groups that I was a part of and went into it not really expecting much and got blown away the first round that I went through it. And it just it's for you, man. It draws, if you do it right, it draws some things out of you and helps you to be able to identify some things that you're dealing with in your own life that you need to cut out, that God doesn't like. And it also fosters community because you're doing it in a community setting where you're sharing with each other about it. And so, oh man, Aaron, you went through it once and you're going to be in it again here this next round. Do you want to share any thoughts on what you felt going through it, you and Rachel?
Yeah, I thought it brought up a lot of things that you don't normally think about, or stuff that was early on in your Christianity, things that you were talked to about but not really expanded upon. So there was a lot of information in the freedom group that touched on things through deliverance, through the whole process of repentance, a lot of things that you may not have realized that you were doing, or that you brought into your life, that you open doors for. It goes through each one of these different categories and then brings up the scenarios, and it makes you think. It's kind of like a little bit of Christian homework. There's some of them are videos, some of them are like, you got to write this out, check this verse out, tell me what you think about it. And it's definitely worth it, because being raised as a Christian my entire life, there was still things that when we went through there and talked about stuff that I was like, had epiphanies about, like, oh man, I didn't even think about this, or I didn't realize about speaking curses into my life, or the choice between the tree of knowledge and the tree of life that I have to make every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, for sure. This will be my fourth time going through this course, and every single time I learned something different. It's not weird at all. Like, and the discussions are always different. They're always good, but there's different people in the group, so the dynamics are different, right? And yeah, we missed the conference because there's a big conference at the end of it. It's a 12-week course, and then they do a conference, and it's worship and prayer for a day and a half, and it is powerful. I'm telling you, chains break. I'm serious, and it is super cool. And that got shut down by the COVID crap. It was supposed to happen, and then we went on lockdown, and everything went to hell in a handbasket.
You know what I
But
think?
the next,
I would say I think that God can break those chains, through this process, even without that. I'd love to see everybody be a part of something like that. I wish we could do something like that online so that people could be a part of it through all of this.
Yeah.
But go into it with the idea that God can use that to change, things that you're dealing with and struggles, and just be open to see things and hear things the way God wants you to see them and hear them. And I mean, it's definitely a life-changing, thing for most people.
yeah, for sure. Somebody wants a link to Quantum.
The other thing I wanted to hint at was something that I wanted to see, because we have this really big, well, I wouldn't say really big, but it's a really personal community that we started on Facebook. I know not everybody is a part of Facebook, but it's called SITREP Resistance. If you are, check it out. Come in, join. It's a closed group, but we've got admins and stuff that'll let you get you guys in there. But something that I want to call out to all of our people who are listening and part of that group, I really challenge everybody to start doing your testimony. It doesn't even have to be a video. If you're shy, camera shy, whatever, just, tomorrow, think what you would say to somebody if they ask you how you became a Christian, and then put it on tape. And then if you can, upload it to YouTube or upload it to Facebook to the SITREP Resistance page. So you have it, because if it ever becomes a time when somebody asks you, you can send that to somebody. But I'd love to see that. And if you guys, it would be helpful, because you don't know who in the community or, may be struggling with something that you've already been through, and you could help them out, and vice versa. I'd love to see everybody start posting their testimonies on the SITREP Resistance. And if you're not part of it, but you want to send your testimony out, because I'd love for Ian's the one that's big onto the whole creating videos and stuff. I want to see Ian, if he gets time, to take those and put it together and do a whole testimonial video, of everybody's testimony, talking about the stuff they did. I'd love to see something like that. But if you guys can't get onto the SITREP page, or you're not on Facebook, send it to one of our emails. You can reach me at inchronicles@gmail.com, or Ian
Chadrick at gmail.com. The other thing is, if you want information on Mission 242, or you want me to make you a logo for your city, or whatever it is, or give you some papers and stuff with an event, or I can give you the logo and you can make whatever papers you want with them. It's your own thing. I just want to keep track of where we got people that are starting these things, so we can kind of make a network and communicate with each other. But if you want information on that, there's a link I put in the description. It's also Mission 242 at protonmail.com. That's that's where I'm not putting my phone number on there. I don't got time, unless I was full-time ministry, man, and then I would have no problem. But I'm not full-time ministry. I'm not even part-time ministry. I'm like,
yeah, that's after you put my address up on the screen. I'm gonna have people coming to my house.
man, nobody has a memory anymore. They can't memorize that.
It's on Facebook, man. They just rewind it.
Well, hopefully people come to your block party.
Yeah.
Oh, the group, though. You're interested in free groups. You're interested in doing the free group. We're going to be doing a Zoom. Okay, so right now, it's about to start in August. It starts the first week of August. I think my night that I'm choosing to do my Zoom meeting is Thursdays. It'll be 9:00 Eastern time, and it's about an hour and a half. That's how long it takes. And so you're going to have to find me on Facebook and send me a private message telling me you're interested in that. And I'll mark you down and add you to a Facebook group that we communicate on. So I'll put you in a private chat group where I'll send you further information on all that junk. There is a book that you can purchase, or you can have the free PDF version to do it, but you're going to end up having to print out several pages a week to fill out because it is an interactive course. So with that being said, I don't think there's anything else, but I did want to read this. Here's a 1 Timothy 2, guys. And I'm reading this from the Message version just because I read a bunch of versions while I was seeing which one I wanted to read. And this one sounds the best. I realize it's the Message, so don't give me a lot of crap. But it says, the first thing I want you to do is pray. Pray every way you know how, for everyone you know. Pray especially for the rulers of their governments, and pray for them to rule well, so that we can be quiet about our business of living simply in humble contemplation. This is the way of our Savior God wants us to live. He wants not only us, but everyone saved. You know, everyone to get to know the truth we've learned. That there's one God and only one, and one priest and mediator between God and us, and that is Jesus, who offered himself in exchange for everyone held captive by sin, to set them all free. Eventually, the news is going to get out. This is the only, this only has been appointed work. Get this news to those who have never heard God, and explain how it works by simple faith and plain truth. Simple faith and plain truth. And I love how it says, eventually this news is going to get out. Yeah, because eventually we are going to become the ecclesia like we were supposed to be. You know, God had to reset our entire life and restructure everything. And now there's a new normal. And a lot of times we give the enemy credit for this, right? We're like, the enemy's doing all kinds of stuff. God allowed it, and it's for our good. We just have to accept that. And just like we were talking about David, right? With this, if this COVID virus thing is a Philistine, is there not a word from the scripture, a word of faith to this in this moment, right? God's people are the ones that bring hope, right? And peace and love. We don't, you know, sometimes though, peace, because it says, you know, God came not to bring peace, but to bring a sword. Because sometimes when your peace is taken from you, you have to take it back by force. And that's our job. We're the church. We're the body of Christ. He wants his body to wield that sword, right? So, man, we got a lot of work to do. And I think first step, turn off your TV unless you're watching one of my movies or SITREP. Ask your neighbors their name. That's the first step. You don't have to invite them over yet. Just say, hey, what's your name? And then they tell you, just turn around and run away, I guess. But yeah, we want to see fellowships, guys, pop up everywhere, man. It's real simple.
Do you know if this is the 27th episode at 2.5 hours apiece? We've done 67.5 hours of SITREP 2020. That's a lot of hours, Ian.
Yeah. Pray, because we need to pray. We need to keep this thing flowing. So we're going to pray for you guys, and then we're closing this thing down. But yeah, because we don't want to get to 68 hours. That's next week. But I'll go ahead and start. Father, we are so humbled that you chose us to be alive in this crazy time. And Lord, you chose us all and wrote our destinies in the book before we were born. And you have a purpose for each one of us right now. They're not here by accident. There's no such thing as coincidence, God. Everything is ordered and structured by you. Father, we're thankful that you've allowed us to have this community and to be part of a family all across the world. It's so amazing. Thank you for technology that allows that. Thank you for just solid teachers, God, that we've all been following, and that we've all, some of us have become teachers, God, as we've grown in relationship with you, Lord. And we don't take that lightly by any means. Father, we pray that you'd increase our territory, God, and increase our finances, and help us to be able to spread your word and your truth and your love all across to everyone we come in contact with, Lord. Let us leak onto people, God, as they are biased, Lord. Just help your spirit and presence to leak out of us and onto them. And Lord, we just thank you so much for your peace that passes understanding in this chaos that's all around us, God. We have peace, and we know that we are in the palm of your hand, and that we are safe. And God, don't let us forget the mission. Please don't let us lose heart. Bring people around us that can support us and love us and challenge us, God, to be better. We don't want to get comfortable. We're done with that. We don't want the new normal. God, we want to embrace this war. God, embrace the struggle. Father, I pray that you'd bring people across my path this week that would challenge me and challenge me to step out in faith and see miracles happen, God. There's a lot of sick and hurting people out there that need a touch from you. And Father, let it be me. Let me get one more, God. Father, I pray for safety and blessings all over everybody that's listening to this, whether it's live or later on this week or next week or whenever. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, you got to fix that squeaky chair, man. It sounds like he's running over a cat.
Maybe I will, because I got this chair from the trash.
Hey, it works other than that squeak. All right, guys. Well, we will see you again next week as long as we're physically able. We love each and every one of you guys. Stay strong out there. Stay vigilant. Stay in prayer, and love your neighbor and your neighborhood.
Yeah, share the videos, share them all, because repost them. If you got a site, repost videos that you like, because we're shadow banned and we only get to who you send us to. So put us in group, any Facebook groups that you're a part of, share it up in there. We want this community to grow. We want our Facebook page to grow. We want all that junk to grow, and not for our own personal gain, but we don't get anything from this. We just want to be able to communicate and have this big pile of God's people all doing the same thing. But we'll see you next week. We got, I don't know if I should say this, somebody super awesome coming next week. Do you know who it is, Aaron?
Yep.
Who is it?
So you don't want to say it, so you want me to say it?
Let me tell you. I gave you a hint. It's up to you to use your conspiracy theory skills. Post in the comments. Who do you think it is that's guesting next week?
You mentioned his name at one point in the show, so that means everybody needs to go back and rewatch the entire thing.
Not even the clue. That's not the clue that I was talking about. Anyway, you have plenty of clues. He's a former guest, and he's coming back next week to light it up.
It's weird when you look directly at the camera.
I know. My wife's always like, why are you always steer off to the left? I'm like,
all set up, man. I don't like staring into it. It's creepy.
Oh man. All right, bye guys. God bless.